What if I told you that the wealth of entire nations, your nation, was built not on productivity, not even on resources, but on debt that can never be repaid? And what if this system wasn't an accident, but a deliberate design? A design so powerful it could enslave generations without a single soldier, without a single chain. Because this story isn't about governments versus people. It's about central banks versus reality. The mystery we'll unravel today is simple. How did central banks quietly turn the world's money into infinite debt? And why can't any country ever escape it? Stay with me, because once you understand this story, you'll never look at your money the same way again. Our story begins in the late 1600s, an era when money still meant something real. Gold and silver were wealth. Paper was just a promise. But in 1694, England faced a problem. It needed funds to fight wars it couldn't afford. Enter a group of private lenders who had an idea that would change history forever. They offered to create money out of nothing, lend it to the crown, and charge interest. That institution became the Bank of England, the world's first true central bank. Its power didn't come from gold. It came from the ability to create credit and charge nations for using it. From that moment on, debt became not a burden, but a business model. This system spread like wildfire. France, the Netherlands, and later the United States all built versions of this same model. But here's the twist. Every loan created money, and every repayment destroyed it, meaning the system could never be fully paid off without collapsing. It was brilliant. It was elegant. And it ensured that nations could never truly be free again. Fast forward to the 1800s. The young United States had already learned the dangers of central banking. Thomas Jefferson warned, if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issuance of their currency, they will deprive the people of all property. And yet, in 1913, the prophecy came true. That year, a small group of bankers and politicians met in secret on Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia. Their goal? To create a central bank that looked federal, but was in fact a cartel of private interests. The result was the Federal Reserve System, a central bank that could issue U.S. dollars, control interest rates, and lend money to the government itself. It was the ultimate sleight of hand. The U.S. Treasury would borrow dollars from the Fed, the same dollars the Fed had just created from thin air. Every new dollar meant new debt, and every debt required interest, and the debt never truly disappeared. It just grew, generation after generation. By 1933, during the Great Depression, the illusion began to crack. The U.S. was drowning in debt, banks were collapsing, and people wanted their gold back. So President Franklin D. Roosevelt closed the gold window, confiscating private gold and severing the dollar's last real anchor. From that point forward, money was no longer tied to gold. It was tied to trust, and that trust was backed by nothing. By the mid-20th century, the U.S. dollar had become the world's reserve currency, guaranteed by the promise of gold under the Bretton Woods system. But behind the scenes, the U.S. government was printing more dollars than it had gold to back them. Foreign nations, especially France, noticed the trick and demanded payment in gold. In 1971, President Richard Nixon faced an impossible choice: lose America's gold or end the illusion. He chose the latter. With one televised speech, Nixon closed the gold window, permanently detaching the dollar from gold. The modern fiat era was born money by decree, value by belief, debt by design. From that moment on, central banks no longer needed restraint. They could create infinite money, lend it to governments, and collect infinite interest forever. The chain was invisible, but unbreakable. The decades that followed proved the system's power. Global debt exploded, from $4 trillion in 1971 to over $300 trillion today. The world's top economies owe more money than they can ever repay. Every crisis, whether in 2008 or 2020, has been met with more printed money, not reform. Here's the sinister part. Every new dollar created makes the previous ones worth less. That means inflation isn't an accident, it's a feature. Central banks need inflation, because without it, the illusion of growth collapses. And every generation pays the price in higher costs, stagnant wages, and shrinking purchasing power. Meanwhile, the debt-fueled profits flow upward into the same hands that control the issuance of credit. Governments pretend to be in charge, but in reality, they've become the largest debtors in history, enslaved by the very institutions they empowered. You might wonder, can we fix it? Some tried. In the 1980s, Reagan's administration spoke of smaller government and tighter money, but debt tripled. In the 2008 crisis, the solution was supposed to be reform, but instead, we got quantitative easing mass money creation disguised as stability. And now we're entering the next phase, central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. The pitch is efficiency. The reality? Total control. CBDCs will give central banks direct visibility and power over every single transaction. If they don't like how you spend your money, they could simply turn it off. It's not just about money anymore. It's about freedom. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. When the Roman Empire fell, it wasn't barbarian swords that destroyed it. It was currency debasement. When Weimar Germany collapsed, it wasn't a lack of resources. It was hyperinflation. Every empire that abused its currency eventually collapsed under the weight of its own lies. And now we're watching the same story unfold, just dressed in modern suits and digital screens. So, what do we take away from this? The global financial system is built on debt that can never be repaid, only rolled over. Debt isn't the exception, it's the foundation. Inflation is not a mistake. It's a silent tax that keeps the system alive while eroding your savings. Central banks don't serve nations. They serve the system itself. And the system's survival depends on keeping you inside it. The question isn't whether the system will collapse. The question is, who will control what replaces it? As new forms of digital currency rise and trust in the old world fades, understanding the past becomes your greatest weapon. Because if money is the story we all agree to believe, then those who control the story control the world. If you found this eye-opening, don't stop here. Subscribe to the Financial Truth Network, where we reveal the untold history, hidden systems, and quiet revolutions shaping your financial reality. Because the next chapter is already being written.